5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
How about we do it again?
6, 7, 4, 3, 2, 1. They got bored.
Okay, let's try one more
I
time.
definitely.
Ready?
Ranking review. Ranking review. Ranking review.
Say 6,
6,
5,
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Hello and welcome to the 262nd episode of Rank and Review, where I have a meeting with the Rank and Review Film Club. This time we're meeting to discuss sci-fi selections. What is sci-fi? It's such a broad genre, like so many movies are captured under the umbrella of sci-fi. In this case, I'm sort of looking at more straight-faced, speculative, what will our future hold type of sci-fi, as opposed to aliens eating people or space wizard type of sci-fi. But I wanted to bring up with the film club what they liked out of their sci-fi, what they appreciate from the genre. So, as usual, we have 6 movies to cover, and my different members of the film club are going to address different films. You are going to be treated to a review of Limitless with Jason Dubray of the Shelf Shedding Movie Show and myself. You're going to be treated to a review of the movie Sychronic with our special guest this week, Mr. Matthew Risling. I'm going to discuss The Martian with Lee Beckmann. I'm going to discuss The Passengers with Mireille Smith. I'm going to discuss Mission to Mars with Fehr, and I'm going to discuss the movie Selfless with my good friend Scott Lehman. And we're going to get into the spoilers, and there's probably going to be swears, but if you've listened to Rank and Review, you understand that we talk spoilers for the movies that are being ranked, and that I swear like a fucking sailor. Pardon me. Rank and Review has a YouTube presence now, so you can check out all the podcasts and some isolated reviews on YouTube, and you can write your ranks beneath there, and you can give comments, and I will see them, and it will bring awareness to the podcast, because I put a lot of work into these, and I would love it if people listen to them. That would be, that would be nice. Send your feedback to ranknreview@gmail.com. That's ranknreview@gmail.com. The website is ranknreview.ca. There's still more Film Club episodes to come in the future. If your ears are getting lonely in between episodes, please check out the Shelf Shedding Movie Show hosted by Mr. Jason Dubray. Now, before we get into the actual reviews, I thought I would have a few words with each of the guests on what they thought of and what they liked in sci-fi. So that starts now.
Say when.
Science fiction. I just hit record. I want to talk a little bit about science fiction with you here, because this is a genre in which we can watch a movie like 2001: A Space Odyssey and Killer Clowns from Outer Space, and they're both quote-unquote science fiction movies, right? And
I guess so.
To me, I split it into, there's like the Star Trek and the Star Wars, of which I can appreciate both, but Star Trek is sort of speculative sci-fi. Where is humanity going to be in the future, kind of best case scenario? Whereas Star Wars is fantasy in space. It's wizards and monsters and fighting in space. But we call them all science fiction. For this episode, I'm picking more ambitious science fiction movies that are kind of trying to be about something or speculating what future science might be like. But do you have a preference? What do you feel about science fiction? I know you're not big into fantasy, but where are we with sci-fi?
Well, that's the thing, you kind of hit it, because for me growing up, science fiction to me, it felt like it meant space. Like
Yeah.
that's just what I thought, how I related it to anything that took place in outer space with spaceships or aliens or anything intergalactical. That was science fiction to me. And then what you kind of forget is it actually means science and fiction. Put the words together. Like the movie that we're going to talk about, it's refers to it's science. It's a futuristic science and kind of a fantasy as far as what we could develop or something like that. They blend usually a little bit towards action as well. I mean, you got sci-fi horror as well and sci-fi drama, but sci-fi action is probably the most, or thrillers, I guess.
That's where the money's made.
Yeah, I can enjoy them for sure. I think it's funny because a movie like this one, like Selfless, I wouldn't initially think sci-fi. I would just think kind of action thriller kind of thing.
Right.
Just because in my head, I've just been trained to think, Star Trek or Alien or something like that is sci-fi to me.
I like that it'd be in space. I like that they have sort of, gadgets and inventions that we don't in our time and place. And I like, robots that do things for us. I guess this isn't really a deep analysis, but it's funny because I really enjoy watching sci-fi stuff, but that's where my reading doesn't intersect. I've tried reading a couple of science fiction things, and it's not really my bag. I don't really enjoy it. So yeah, for me, it's like, I guess it's the visual, and I don't want to kind of read all the descriptions of the blah blah, technical stuff. But I like to see it.
Yeah. I think a little bit of awe and wonder, a little bit of sort of that Spielbergian E.T. Close Encounters vibe is welcome. Like, there should be a little bit of, like, where are we going or what might be out there. And, yeah, within that, sure, show us what it might look like to live on a spaceship, or show us, what people might look like generations ahead of us. I mean, the world's changed so much just in the time that I've been alive. To, like, fast forward 500 years, I think is a much more dramatic thing than people would be comfortable with, really. Star Wars posits humanity of endless warmongering. It doesn't matter our tech, it doesn't matter our expanse in the universe, we're constantly in a state of conflict. And that is not the case in Star Trek, or at least they're not looking for it. They do run into it, but, the idea is to make the world more harmonious.
Yeah, it doesn't seem to matter who's in charge in Star Wars. They're always in conflict.
Yeah.
Right? And in Star Trek, it's less about who's in charge and who you meet.
Well,
right?
The whole business is money isn't a thing anymore. And they have the replicator, so everybody can have whatever they want to eat whenever they need. Like, they don't have those types of worries anymore. Personally, go more for, what's that show, like The Expanse, where they're trying to make it as realistic as possible.
That's exactly where I was going. It's funny you mentioned that. I prefer, I guess, science fiction-wise, I prefer, like, Star Trek type, where we're aspiring to be something else. And The Expanse, although it's science fiction, it's based in real science. So I almost even wouldn't call it science fiction. I would just call it science, right? And it's like one of my favorite shows of all time.
Nice.
The Expanse. The books as well are wonderful.
Yeah, but there's certain people who are like, that's what they want, there shouldn't be any explosion or the sound of explosions in space. It should be the constant struggle to stay alive, to keep the atmosphere, to keep your oxygen, to keep your gravity, to keep your sanity, the actual toil of the work. You don't need to have an alien burst out of your chest or to be, being pursued through an asteroid belt or whatever. Just surviving in space is task enough.
But I love both the Blade Runners and talking about, issues of slavery or what is a soul, really deep conversations. But are very much talked about openly in Blade Runner. Like that Tears and Rain monologue, I considered one of the best cinematic monologues ever written. Like that's so beautiful and so touching, and I never really see Roy Batty as the villain in that piece. I think an argument can be made Deckard is kind of a villain in Blade Runner because Roy Batty is just wanting to live his life longer and not be a slave.
But he is willing to kill to do it. It goes to the whole Frankenstein thing, right?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, yeah. But I have great empathy for Roy in that movie.
To create a sort of speculative sci-fi environment that allows you to have these kind of deep arguments with yourself, like, to try and answer really difficult questions. What would First Contact be like? Because it would change the world. It would fuck with religion. It would fuck with economy. It would fuck with biology. It would fuck with everything, right? It would blow our reality wide open. So yeah, we have movies talking about it. What's the world going to be like as we slowly continue to run out of fresh water, right?
Yeah. I mean, right now the world is grappling with artificial intelligence really starting to take hold.
And we're seeing more and more of that in fiction to help sort of either prep us or warn us, you know.
I just came from a conference talking about using AI in the classroom and what are the dangers and what are the positives about it. So it's here and it's only going to grow. I think more and more human jobs are going to be taken away and replaced by machines. What's that going to do to society?
Yeah.
What's that? The population is growing. How are we going to find jobs for these people?
Yeah.
I think I grew up with the space fantasy as you're describing it, and I thought that's what science fiction was, and only that. And then I got kind of past the point when I was growing up and becoming, this more narrow, and then I broadened it out, movie geek, where I was thinking, I don't actually like science fiction. Like, I really did not. I spent a long time into high school thinking I didn't like science fiction. I would kind of dismiss science fiction films because they are just fantasy. I hadn't kind of experienced, to me, the right kind of science fiction. It was almost through literature. Isaac Asimov or, Philip K. Dick. And then later, discovering the film versions of some of their work, that I started to get more on board with it. And I think it was based on this idea that, really good science fiction should have solid science behind it. And then you could play around with the fiction. And I like the idea of science fiction as satire or as warning. And absolutely. I don't think I got that being, watching a space opera. As much as I love the Star Wars movies, especially obviously the original trilogy, and I would watch all the Star Trek movies with William Shatner, and I was excited to watch as many of those. And I watched a lot of this stuff kind of growing up, but then I kind of thought, this seems a little bit like it's kid stuff, and I hadn't experienced like the more serious ones. And 2001: A Space Odyssey I saw later on. I love that. I have such a tough time selling that film to people.
It's
more
and
more.
Meal. It's a meal.
It's a big meal, but the science is solid, and it's an interesting story and thought-provoking. And I guess that's what I'm looking for in my science fiction, something that's thought-provoking and a comment on the time that we're in, but a warning of what's going to happen in the future. I'll tell you, probably my favorite science fiction movie of the century to this point is Minority Report, which I think is one of Spielberg's best films. It's not mentioned in like the top 5 Spielberg, but I absolutely love that movie because
it's doing both.
That started to happen. I mean, we're getting close to the time we're going to walk into a store and, hello, Mr. Dubray, here's the sales that you want, because our phones do that for us all the time.
It's showing us the scary consumer future, and it's being a good thriller.
Yeah.
That's where sort of the broader, bigger sci-fi has its role. And you know me, I can handle a spacecraft crash lands on a planet and aliens try to eat the passengers. Like, I'm there for that movie.
Yeah.
But science fiction is on a bigger level than that. Horror can do this too, of course. We've talked about many horror movies that talk about bigger themes, but science fiction, it seems almost built for it.
This wasn't a hallucination.
Immortality has some side effects. Hello?
How is this possible?
There is no science, no progress without sacrifice.
I never wanted others to suffer.
I gave you what you wanted.
You took a man's life. No! I did! Soon I'll be gone. I can already feel myself fading.
Without me, your mind will relapse. And we both know who takes over. I'm the only one standing between you and oblivion.
Selfless is directed by a guy named Tarsem Singh. He's an Indian director, and he did the movie The Cell. Remember The Cell with Jennifer Lopez being injected into the mind of a serial killer? You've seen that one?
Long ago.
Yeah.
Like, it's very foggy, yeah.
He did this movie called The
I remember
Fall.
the cover very clear.
It's strange. He did a movie called The Fall. He did a movie called Immortals. And all of his movies are spectacular visually. They're like intensely, incredibly, visually, wonderfully, cinematically, achievements all the way around. Until we get to this movie, Selfless, which doesn't look bad by any way, but it actually is not distracted by how beautiful it wants to be. It's not distracted by making every shot incredibly vast and cinematic in a way that just kind of blows your mind. It's actually just telling a pretty straightforward science fiction story, which is fine, but it seems like Singh kind of has changed his identity somewhat for this movie, because I associated him with the light show, with spectacle taking precedence over everything. And Selfless is not that. And it's not like when we talked about the remake of the Amityville Horror, relying on shirtless Ryan Reynolds to get us through the proceedings. The highfalutin sci-fi concept that they're playing with here is that this rich industrialist, Ben Kingsley, Damien is his name, he has a fatal cancer diagnosis and is in a position where very few people are, where he can afford to have this sort of science fiction procedure done and have his consciousness injected into what he is told is an empty cell. So he's no longer this dying old billionaire. He's now injected into the body of a young Ryan Reynolds in his prime and being able to relive his youth. There is a catch. You can't have any contact with everyone else. No one else in the world can know that you've done this. You have achieved a sort of immortality, but you have to hit the reset switch on your life. All of that is very interesting. Sorry, say that again?
Everyone has to think that you've died for all intents and purposes. Right?
That's right.
Your life is over.
Yeah, and that's a big thing to get your head around, but if it means not dying, and we see that this guy is pretty unhappy. He's got a terrible relationship with his daughter. He's pretty cold about how he runs his business, but doesn't seem to be happy with anything he's achieved. So maybe starting fresh could be good for him. I think that by itself is a really interesting science fiction concept, and it was done in a really great 60s movie called Seconds, where people are given a second chance at life. But when they want their old life back, there are complications. This movie flips the script a little bit in that we find out the body he's been given is not a clone. It's not something that's been grown. They have taken another human being and injected his consciousness over top of it. And he starts getting pieces of this, his suits, his body's memories. And, of course, it turns out that this guy was military, highly trained, highly skilled. He had a wife, he had a family, he had a life. It always seems when you find out you have a different identity, it turns out you're a highly skilled super spy. It's always the Bourne Identity or Total Recall or Selfless. You have all of these crazy awesome skills. So
you're
between
never a bank manager or something.
That's right. You're not just an ordinary dude. So between his skills and his intelligence and using the information from the Ryan Reynolds character, he has to discover what happened to him and if there's anything he can do to help or undo things for the Ryan Reynolds character who has been wronged. And so things play out. And it's a decent, watchable science fiction movie. I don't know how memorable it is in the catalog of Tarsem Singh, but like, I hate giving this type of review because I do it too often, but it's fine.
Fine. I felt that coming.
I liked it. I didn't mind watching it, but I feel it fading from my memory rapidly. And for something that's full of such high sci-fi concepts, I feel like there should be more here, but I don't have a lot of notes. I'm not like, you should have done here this, or you miscast this badly. Like, I don't know what's missing, but maybe something. What do you think about Selfless?
I felt like it was fine. To borrow your review word for word, they got to put that on the back of a video box one day. Like
Ranking Review says fine.
It's fine. We talked about the morality that comes into play in some of these science fiction types, and that comes into this one. They say, hey, so when he finds out this was actually a person before, and now I've taken over his mind, his life. See, he gives up his life for a lot of money, so they have a sick daughter, right? Now she doesn't have to be sick; she can get the care she needs. But then you're just wondering, okay, now, what would you do? I guess now, is this okay? And that's kind of where it becomes maybe interesting. My problem with the movie, I think, is I felt like I was surprised approximately 0 times in it.
Right.
Where everyone's double crossing throughout, and there's twists and there's turns, but I think you see every one of them coming.
There's only one that really bothers me, honestly. His best friend who he goes to visit, who has the kid.
Yeah.
He has to convince him that, like, I'm in Ryan Reynolds' body, but it's actually me, right? But as the plot turns out, like, his buddy knows about this thing. He knows his son has been replaced. He doesn't need convincing. I'm not sure what that whole business, that whole scene was. Was he just playing along? It didn't seem that way.
No, I think it was maybe just to try and hide it from the audience, so we didn't catch on that quick. But
that makes no sense from a character standpoint, right?
There's not a lot of big action sequences in the movie, but there are a few, and when they do come, I think those work well, or like Ryan Reynolds does well. In those, they're kind of quick bursts of. There's a couple fight scenes and a car chase. When it does happen, I think those are entertaining and they're shot well. I don't really have anything much else to say. It was just kind of a movie that happened and that I watched, and then it was over, and it didn't hurt me, and it was an okay way to spend the 2 hours if you want to see it.
Not enthusiastic.
Yeah, I don't know. Like, I don't want to get too excited about it. Like you said before, it's kind of an interesting idea, and I'm not sure what it was about it that it kept my attention for sure. I wasn't checking my phone or anything during the movie, and but I just felt like everything that was kind of coming, you felt coming, and I'd say, oh, of course, he's double crossing there too. And there's this one guy that he keeps on getting killed by Damien, and so he immediately goes and transfers his body into somebody else like 3 times in the movie. But
that's kind of funny. No, I appreciate that about it. I think it wants to have more emotional punch than it does. The whole relationship with the daughter, and when he's in the body of the Ryan Reynolds and he sees the little girl and he teaches her to swim like her actual dad had promised that he was going to do for her. And this being sort of good for him because he knows on some level he failed his daughter or tried to buy his way out of not being the greatest dad in the world. And, that scene might be the one where, like, I'm counterfeit. I'm trying to, be the better father, but this isn't my daughter. I don't deserve this life. I need to do the right thing. And I feel like emotionally I should be more moved by that. When Ryan Reynolds goes and meets with the daughter, and apologizes and they finally have that farewell and they see each other for the first time, it seems like, and for the last time. It should be this big crescendo emotional moment of the movie. It's more a climax to the movie than him deciding to not take the pills, right?
Yeah, I suppose so. It's his final goodbye, or
yeah, but it doesn't feel that way. There's no point of the movie that feels like the climax. Like, dramatically, when he decides he needs to take these pills to keep his consciousness within this body, and he decides he's not going to keep taking the pills so that Ryan Reynolds can overtake it. He will die, but Reynolds will have his life back. But that's not a real dramatic thing. The big high point is him looking at a container of pills and deciding not to take one. That's the dramatic peak of the movie. Or it's the scene with the daughter. But I guess in the end, neither of them are. It's not that it's not satisfying, but we don't have that big moment that says, this is what the film was leading towards. This is, the emotional payoff of the movie. And I think that's maybe what I was looking for and missing. And because it feels competent. Nobody is phoning it in at any way, shape, or form here. Like, Ryan Reynolds might have that kind of role that he does, and he plays the Ryan Reynolds type, but he doesn't suck at it. And, like, he's usually engaging to watch in the movie. Like, Tarsem Singh is a capable director. I'm not sure. Like, should it be better than it is? Yes. Is it bad? No. Like, it's a tough movie to review.
Well, as an actor, he's got charisma.
Yes.
And, you're watching him as a character, and you cheer for him, and he's instantly likable, and you want whatever his character is doing to be okay, because you side with him, and you like him. I just don't know how true to form it seemed the things he was doing after he, changed bodies. Was it really true to the Damien character that we didn't really get a lot of Ben Kingsley before, but we kind of got the idea of who he was, and I'm not sure if really that's who he would have became that quickly, but
I can see there being a brief period of celebration, getting your youth back, being able to knock boots with these young models, and not like that sort of period of this is awesome. They could have done more with that than they did, but I also feel maybe in a face-off kind of way, if Kingsley and Ryan Reynolds had spent some time with each other and tried to bleed those performances, like their actor affectations, off of each other. Because there's times in Face Off where you can see Nick Cage playing Travolta, and you can see Travolta playing Nick Cage. And Ryan Reynolds has his tics, and, sorry, I just blanked on this. Ben Kingsley has his tics. Like, they could have done more of that. But I at risk of it becoming a little bit more comical, because this is not as ridiculous as Face Off. This is a very straight-faced sci-fi movie, but I don't know. There were things that could be done to spice it up just a little.
Yeah, I agree. When he was in Reynolds' body, it was Ryan Reynolds, and there was no trace of Ben Kingsley there. And it wasn't Face Off, or what's the Steve Martin one? All of Me, where he's got Lily Tomlin inside his body, and he's changing the way he walks and everything. Completely different movie. I'm not sure why that one popped in my head. But,
Inner Space. Remember Inner Space? But then you're dealing with comedy, and it might have messed with the tone too. But I don't know. I'm speculating of things they could have tried to add a little more flavor.
Yeah, this one they definitely played it straight, 100%. I don't think there's one laugh or even a side chuckle. It's pretty straight the whole way through. One thing that kind of bothered me was near the end action sequence when he's with his buddy's house and his friend says, "Okay, you know what? I'm sorry. I'm going to help you get away. So I'm going to take the wife and the daughter and get them safely in the woods." And Ryan Reynolds drives off. He has a big car chase scene. And so they're in the woods, and a car approaches.
And she walks right up to him.
Yeah, she goes, "Oh, good, a car." And she goes and waves them down. He's like, no. And of course, oh, no surprise, it's the bad guy.
Yeah.
It was funny because to me, I think that was the moment when I said, well, I don't care. Whatever happens to you now, you completely had coming because you're an idiot character.
She didn't die, but it felt like death by stupidity, although she got to live through it.
Yeah, it just I kind of laughed, or me and my wife both kind of laughed at that and just put our hands up. Of course, yeah.
I will say,
going towards the car.
Matthew Good, the Albright character, was really good and hateable. Like, I look forward to seeing him punished. So, I mean, everybody did their job here. I just wish I was more excited about it. Is there anything else you want to say about Selfless, or shall we call it a day?
I don't think I have anything else to say. It was an interesting movie that I didn't really have on my radar before you pointed it out to me. It reminded me a little bit of another movie called The Island, which I much prefer. It's sort of similar in the way that they're developing clones for the rich people, so they can sort of live forever after when they get older.
Harvesting them for organs or something, yeah.
Yeah, and that just turns into an action spectacle, for the second half, for a big long chase. But I think the idea can be very interesting. I kind of preferred the storytelling in that one a bit, but they keep making interesting ideas, I guess.
Boom.
Well, what the hell is that? No idea, boss.
Prepare to abandon ship.
For centuries, we've searched for the origin of life on Earth. We've been looking on the wrong planet.
What do you feel about Brian De Palma?
Well, I love Carrie,
Right.
obviously. I mean, he's problematic, but, I mean, nowadays, who isn't? But I can appreciate his art for what it is.
Oh, honestly, if you're over 50, you're probably, problematic in some way. You were raised in a savage time.
Exactly.
Well, I am a De Palma apologist. I mean, I realize not all of his movies are amazing, but I usually look forward to another De Palma film. And although I can't fully endorse Mission to Mars, it's a science fiction movie that I think my criticisms are more that it's too ambitious. It's trying to cram too much into one movie all at once, that it just doesn't quite fit. I was watching the movie and I was thinking, having to abandon ship and float in free space from one place to another. Well, that's gravity. Being stranded on Mars and having to survive for over a year by yourself. Well, that's The Martian. This entire rescue mission to get to Mars. Like, these are several different science fiction movies that could sustain an entire feature-length movie itself. And they're all just scenes or plot points in this movie. The initial team that went to Mars, who was led by Don Cheadle, who's an actor I really, really like, they think that they may have discovered a pocket of water. When they go to investigate, they lose contact with everybody. We know what happened. Some kind of alien event has killed all of the other astronauts and left Don Cheadle stranded. And most of the movie deals with the rescue party coming to Mars to get Don Cheadle and see what's happening, and their discovery that they make on the planet when they get there. It's got a great cast, and it's got those big, showy, long shot De Palma, look at me camera work. And it's really earnest, it's professionally acted, it's got good actors in it, and it's one of those frustrating movies where you can see there's a really good movie here, but it's somehow... Yeah, it's just somehow sort of like Tim Robbins floating in space, just outside of our reach. We can see that awesome sci-fi movie that's trying to happen here, but it just doesn't quite close the deal. I still think, like, people who like De Palma, people who like space movies, people who like the movies that I mentioned, that this was, had beats from, or movies that came after it that actually made a bigger meal out of these sequences than this movie did better off for it. But for what came after it, for what it kind of brought out, I think it's a worthy watch. But it's impossible to deny there are problems here. What did you think of Mission to Mars?
Along the same lines, there's about 3 good movies in there somewhere. The end sequence was very 2001: A Space Odyssey, obviously.
Trying for it.
What's that?
They were trying for that. Yeah, that sort of.
They tried. Yeah, they made the effort. So you can see where it was influenced. I thought the beginning was very straightforward, very Apollo 13-ish. All the astronauts getting together at the barbecue before the launch and all that, and the old grizzled veteran, and lots of tropes that they very touched on at the beginning. And so first third of the movie, very standard fare.
But you can see De Palma trying to dress it up. As we go from character to character, the camera slides from one character to another. And, there's not a lot of cutting to it. There's a performative aspect, both to the camera work and to the cast, so everybody's in the right place at the right time. It's showy, and it's kind of like, look at me, but it's sort of what I like about De Palma. He's aggressively trying to entertain you, you know?
Yeah, and the thing about this one, it's less science fiction driven and more character driven. I thought he did actually a decent job of developing the characters in him. He actually gave a shit about what happened to the guys, and they spent enough time developing the characters that you actually cared. And if you're able to just switch off some of the kind of ridiculousness in the latter half of the movie and just take it for like a multi-character study, then I think it's a more enjoyable watch.
Yeah. Well, I think the problem is in the screenplay. We have the Thomas brothers, who wrote the original 2 Predator movies, and Graham Yost, who's a Canadian dude who wrote Speed and has done lots of interesting work. But they seem to, anyway, most of their works be a little bit more adrenaline focused and less sort of ethereal, philosophical sci-fi. And I think they wanted to do that here. And they were certainly, like I said, ambitious with it, but I don't know. I think in their rush to make it exciting and energetic, they kind of lost a little bit of the wonder.
Yeah, they bit off a little more than they could chew, I think.
Yeah. I also...
very, very shark jumpy at, the end, it's like...
Smash cut.
It really jumped the shark. I was like, really? Okay, I guess we'll go with him blasting off into space, trying to find the aliens. Sure.
Well, I was just shocked how abruptly the ending is, but I want to get to the ending.
It's just like, bang, right? Yeah. It's like, oh, okay, this is what we're doing now, all right.
I mean, we slowly find out our main character is Gary Sinise, but at the beginning they're trying to sell us as this ensemble, right?
Yeah.
I like Gary Sinise. I feel like he played this part before. If you've seen Apollo 13, he's supposed to be on the mission. At the last second, he can't be on the mission. There's a catastrophe on the mission. He dedicates himself to saving the astronauts. In this case, he actually gets to fly out to do the rescue instead of doing it from Earth. But it seems like exactly the same role that he played in a different, better space movie, right? Like
it definitely is. You got a promotion in this one. You got to go to space.
That's right. And that's not a fair criticism, and that's nothing that Gary Sinise is necessarily doing wrong, but that kept on reminding me of a different, better space movie while I was watching it, and it would take me out of it, right?
And a lot of the movie did remind you of other movies that were better than it.
Yes.
So the sum was less than its parts, sort of thing. And I can also, I'm assuming you know Ad Astra, Brad Pitt.
Ad Astra, yeah, for sure.
Yeah. So I thought if they could have gone a little more thoughtful, it would have been probably a little more palatable.
Right.
Like Ad Astra was a very slow, methodical, thoughtful movie, and it wasn't for everyone. Not everyone liked it. I really enjoyed it though, because of that. It took its time.
Right.
And I think if this one would have taken its time, it would have been a much better go through.
But that's the uncomfortableness of the movie, because you can see it. There'll be these moments where the micro meteors or whatever go through the ship, and they have to deal with the problem right away, and everything gets exciting for a second.
Yeah.
Get excited, get invested in the sequence, and then that sequence is over, and I don't know. It just felt like a little mini short film. The whole going from one ship to the other, and the loss of the Tim Robbins character, spoiler. I really felt that was projected so much. Like, the movie wanted us to think that Tim Robbins was the hero main character, and the more they did it, the more I was like, this dude is going to die. He's going...
You knew immediately who it was going to be. Yeah.
How much he loves his wife, how funny he is, how he gets along with the entire crew, how everybody feels safe around him. Like the movie was announcing this. There was no... And De Palma, smart director that he is, tries to do this sort of fake out where, like, he's dead, but oh no, she's got this one last thing that she can do to save him, right? No. In a different movie that might have worked, De Palma, but there's no way they're saving Tim Robbins here. And we know it the second he leaves the spaceship. And that is a problem.
And not to mention, her on the last-ditch effort was highly irresponsible.
Yeah.
In no way would that ever be allowed to happen. Like, he was toast as soon as he left.
As soon as he lost his grip on the second ship and was falling towards the planet, that was it. And he knew it, too. He wasn't happy about it, but he took steps. And again, it doesn't not work, but it doesn't have the impact that clearly the movie wants it to. And I feel that happening again and again. When they get to the planet and there's a big reveal that Don Cheadle's still alive. Of course Don Cheadle is still alive.
But not much of a reveal on that one. I'm like, of course he's still there. They're not going to get there and it's going to be empty.
They make a big meal out of it. They're all devastated by the loss of the Tim Robbins character, but they don't really... I don't know if it's this thing they're too busy managing the chaos of their situation, but they don't really allow the characters, especially his wife, for that to change their behavior. Like, she goes right back into the sci-fi techno jargon and doesn't... I mean, again, maybe this coldness would take over you in a survival situation, but as an audience member who was supposed to invest in that character, I felt we should have mourned him more.
I mean, as a astronauts as a rule are trained to be able to move on quickly like that. So that part of it I can kind of understand. Like, they're rigorously screened psychologically to determine whether they can handle that kind of situation. So from that point of view, I can understand her moving on quickly and grieving later. So I didn't have too much of a problem with that.
Right. Then we get to the, I think, real problematic area, which is the actual alien portion of the movie.
Yes.
We sort of find out that Mars used to be populated, but a catastrophe was coming. The Martians knew it, so they basically sent an ark away to save their civilization. But they've left this capsule, which was covered by the famous face on Mars, and they'd seeded Earth with their own sort of genetic material, and they hoped that someday someone on Earth would find it. But it's also booby-trapped, so if you don't understand this, it kills you, which I think is kind of silly. And it
defeats the purpose,
and I have to say, once they do get inside, and this is like a real problem that a lot of sci-fi faces, it becomes completely abstract and conceptual, and like you say, 2001, in a way that doesn't balance with the rest of the movie. And I'm sorry, I think that the alien looks kind of derpy.
It's really weird, man. It was a weird looking alien.
Yeah.
Like, okay, we got seeded by that? Okay, sure.
And just...
But by that point, it was already jumped the shark for me, so I'm like, sure, pile it on at that point.
Well, and I feel like the movie gets a little bit embarrassed. This is where I feel it starts to get desperate with the quick cutting, and can they get back to the ship inside? And Gary Sinise is going to stay to, explore the universe and meet the aliens. And they just get back to the ship in time, and they're flying away. And Gary Sinise is about to get drowned in this weird material. He doesn't understand what's happening, but clearly the aliens aren't going to kill him at this point, because if they wanted to kill them, they could have done it 1,000 times by now. So, like, I'm not worried about them leaving the planet safely at this point, and I'm not particularly worried about the fate of Gary Sinise. And the two anti-climaxes kind of pass each other as the ship is clearing Mars's atmosphere and they're beginning the long journey home, but they are going to get home, they are going to be safe. They see the alien spacecraft just fly off into the infinite, and they're like, have a good journey, Jim. And there's a smash cut to credits, and I couldn't believe it. I couldn't believe the movie was over. I couldn't believe that was it. I couldn't believe that's how it ended. It seemed like, and that's good enough.
It was funny because I was watching it with my wife in the room, and it ended, and I'm like, that's it. She's like, what? Did I miss something? I'm like, nope, you didn't.
No, somebody missed something, but it wasn't us.
No, it wasn't us.
Although, as a De Palma apologist, I will go back to where I started and say there is some technically great filmmaking in this movie. The actors are game for it. They're excited to be doing this sci-fi movie with Brian De Palma, and everybody, including me, wants it to be better than it is. But I think it has some influence, and I think even watching De Palma fail is kind of more interesting than watching a lot of directors knock it out of the park. So, it's not going to rank high on the list, but I am not mad at it. I appreciate its ambition, you know?
Well, it had influences, and it also influenced. So it definitely made a mark. Like you can see, like you mentioned, future movies taking pieces from this movie and making it better.
Yeah.
So, hey, good for him.
Yeah. So, yeah. Anything else you want to say about Mission to Mars?
One thing I would say is we were talking about it last time, and I had mentioned that I'm pretty sure I'd seen it before, and you were like, "Ooh, that's kind of not great."
Right.
And I had seen it before, and not only that is I had totally forgot it was on my Disney Plus list.
Oh wow!
So I was looking for it. I'm like, "Oh, it's right there." I even forgot I put it on the list to watch, like on my own without this podcast at all. And I'm like, "Oh, there it is."
Sweet.
So I guess the biggest condemnation I would say is it's pretty forgettable.
Yeah. Well, and not all the movies we're going to talk about will be amazing, but, you know, I don't think this went down hard. I've seen some tough movies for Rank and Review. I did the entire Puppet Master series, dude. So this was fine.
Oh, yeah, totally. Like I said, I didn't hate it.
Yeah.
It just wasn't as that great.
Yeah, it's not a ringing endorsement. I didn't hate it, but
I've seen some bad space movies, and this wasn't one of them.
Good enough.
We boarded the Avalon with a destination. 120 years hibernation means we'll wake up in a new century on a new planet. But a year ago, everything changed.
Hello? Anybody here?
Hello? Do you know what's going on? Nobody else is awake.
I think something went wrong with the hibernation pods. We woke up too soon. 90 years too soon.
This can't be happening. We have to go back to sleep.
We can't.
Aurora, we love you.
Something's wrong. Something big.
What do we do now?
Do you trust me?
Okay, The Passengers. This stars, at the time, probably two of the biggest names in Hollywood. We got Chris Pratt and we have Jennifer Lawrence. And it's set in a long haul spaceship that's sort of bringing an entire civilization basically to colonize a planet. But the trip takes so long that everybody's asleep for the massive journey, except for there seems to be some malfunction, some sort of asteroid hits, something messes up the ship, and Chris Pratt wakes up, and he is utterly alone for over a year, trying to make it work, but he's going to go mad, and he ends up making a really really grotesque decision. He decides, well, first of all, he kind of stalks this woman while she's asleep, and then secondly, he wakes her up, makes it look like her tube also failed, so that he doesn't have to suffer this, what feels like an eternity in space, utterly alone. It feels like a really great Twilight Zone episode premise, and I think the strength, more than the impressive set design and even more than the, popular cast, is that premise. And I think that what I wrestle with the most about the movie, which is very much like I'm fighting with it, there's stuff that I really like, but there's stuff that I really wrestle with, is like, should this have been a romantic movie? Should this have been a horror movie? Like, I'm not the first film critic to make the approach, like, what if we started with Jennifer Lawrence? What if she woke up on the empty ship and met this guy, fell in love with him, and then we found out? Instead of the other setup. Like, we're really meant to, as much as possible, sympathize with Chris Pratt. And is that appropriate? Right? And I mean, this is a classic thing for me with the whole romantic perfection, stalkery behavior like this. Like, what if he didn't look like Chris Pratt? What if he looked like me? Right? Like, what if he just looked like, or someone less creepy, but like a normal person, or just, the fact that they're both Barbie doll pretty kind of, I think, somehow undercuts the seriousness a little bit to me. Although I guess it would make sense, maybe he would wake up a pretty girl or something. But anyway.
Yeah.
Really high production value, really high concept, really mixed on it overall. I don't think that it's bad. I think the reputation is that it's bad. It lost a lot of money. I think that it's an interesting and kind of tough conversation, and my wrestling with that issue is kind of equal to me wrestling with the movie. So I guess I was looking forward to talking to you about it, so maybe I can settle on it. Right now, it's a unenthusiastic thumbs up, basically for the conversation that it elicits, but I feel like there may be more here. So what did you think of Passengers?
Yeah, very similar to what you just said. I agree. I mean, I would have preferred also that it be more, I would have hoped that it would lean into the horror of it a little bit more. And the whole, like, if it had been her, sure, it would have been interesting, I guess, but the whole, I mean, it's an interesting question. How would you react? And if you do, how do you live with your guilt afterwards? And I am very doubtful that it ends with a bow on it like it did for this movie. So that's kind of what takes away from the movie, but I did enjoy it, I guess. I mean, I enjoyed the callbacks to 2001 and The Shining. I thought those were kind of fun to look at. Michael Sheen, obviously, is enjoyable. But yeah, it's, I don't know. And I guess they think that they cover the, the horror of what he did well enough with her anger. She's mad at him for a little while, but then, she has to save his life. So basically, he kills her, she saves him, and then decides, yeah, now we're good.
It feels,
and we're gonna go on forever.
It feels like the trauma bond, right? It feels like the stakes of the adventure of repairing the ship and saving everybody on board reignites the bond that they had before she found out this horrible secret, right? But is that enough to let him off the hook for what you say is murder? He took her life from her. And I think that the big special effects finale, fix the hole in the ship, save everybody, is kind of a cop-out from the confrontation that those two need to have. At the end of the day, they never really did have that scene where they faced each other and dealt with what he did. And
he has a conversation with Lawrence Fishburne.
That's right.
Where he Like, at least he admits it right away to both of them when he's confronted. But he doesn't, I guess he does express regret, but he doesn't seem to sort of, he doesn't fully, I don't know, like...
His big emotional release moment is, I really tried not to. As in, I really tried not to wake you up. But if I said, I really tried not to cut your throat, would that really be any kind of consolation? Right?
Yes. And I wasn't fully on board with Lawrence Fishburne's kind of rationalization where he's like, you're a drowning person and he's like,
pull somebody down.
When you're drowning, you don't have a year to reflect on what you're about to do. When you're drowning, you're just reacting and flailing. It's a knee-jerk reaction to not having any breath, like it's Chris Pratt reflected, knew everything that could happen and still did it.
Yeah.
So...
we mentioned Lawrence Fishburne. He's one of the higher-ranking people on board the ship who ends up getting woken up briefly, but the pod failed so completely that the medical procedure that they used to wake him failed, so he kind of wakes up poisoned and actively dying. So his priority is to do as much as he can to save the ship before he dies, and I think dealing with the fact that he woke up this girl just has to become a very distant second to him. It's cold, but I kind of got it. Like...
yeah.
But I do think you could still have the thing where they need to save the ship, and the whole thing where Chris Pratt is feeling so guilty that he's kind of willingly taking crazy risks to sacrifice himself because he feels like he kind of deserves it or whatever. But does she realize in that moment that she loves him, or does she realize in that moment if he dies, she's suddenly in the same position he is, right?
Exactly. And I think we're pushed to think that she's loving him now, that she's concerned. That seems to be how...
I think more interestingly is if she's psychologically backed into the corner where she's forced to live with her abuser because she has no choice. If she wakes up anyone else, she becomes a monster as well. So she has to deal with this life that she's been given with this guy who, I mean, it would be a big act to forgive. It would be an interesting, like, deep psychological movie to see, like, it's this guy or a life alone. But this guy is the reason that your life is alone.
Right, and if she does choose to, isolate herself from him and say, fuck you, like, what is this going to become? Is he going to become, like, is he going to take by force what he,
or end up waking up somebody else, because then he's essentially right back where he was. But there's a lot of doors they could kick down. Like, I think it's just the potential of the idea. It's bigger than let's fix this hole in the ship and I love you anyway. And that's kind of what it becomes, right?
Well, and I guess we're sort of supposed to be okay with everything when he gives her an option. He says, oh, there's this auto lock thing where I can put you back to sleep, everything will be fine, it'll be like nothing ever happened, and she chooses to stay with him. So, now she's used her own free will and stayed with him, so happy ever after.
Yeah.
And I mean, it's plausible, but I don't see that as a happy ending for either of them.
It was the second one of this sci-fi list where I felt like the ending felt like a little bit rushed. Like, they're okay with each other, they fix the ship, they're in the pool, and then they smash cut to the ship is arriving, everybody's waking up, and there's this vast garden that's been built on board as a sort of welcome to the new world, and they sort of leave stuff behind to say, we were here. Clearly they didn't have kids or anything, they didn't go that far with it, but I don't know, it would have been interesting to see a whole movie about their journey. They are no longer going to be able to sleep for this journey. They are stuck with each other. Maybe that should have been the movie. Maybe we could have seen them age and see them hate each other because they have to, and then maybe love each other because on some reason, like, they have to.
Yeah.
Would you love me, Mick, if I was the last person in the world? Right?
But
you would have
what
no
you
choice, bitch.
It depends what you did to make that happen.
Right. I killed a lot of people, but
One thing that really was not in this movie's favor was, okay, I'm really apologize for this, but there was a thing that reminded me of Jade. Do you remember the movie Jade with David Caruso?
Yes, I do. It is not a very good movie, by which I mean it is a terrible movie.
It is not, and it has one of my least favorite things in the whole world, where a totally implausible chase happens. Like in this movie, he's sitting in the restaurant, the bad guy's getting away, gets into his Ferrari and drives by. David Caruso watches him out the window, gets up, goes out, gets in his car, and catches up with him.
Right.
There's no way. And so in this movie, when he goes out of the airlock and his tether breaks and he floats out into space, she has to react, she has to leave, she has to put her suit on, she has to go outside, and she catches him. There's no way she's going to catch him and bring him back in. I'm sorry.
Right.
And even though this is outer space and, make-believe, that still was too far.
Well, yeah, I mean, I think at that point for me, the movie was a little bit off the rails anyway. It was around the time he was, like, standing by that door willing to bake himself. And by the way, if you want to play the fate game, I think if it was...
Yeah, he should have been cooked, yeah.
If it was hot enough that it was going to basically implode the ship, that release vent would have utterly disintegrated any part of him that was... even if he had the door in front of him, his legs were below the door, his arm was on the side.
He had a door shield.
Yeah, that's right.
He had a door shield. It was fine.
I'm overthinking it. You're right. I apologize. The acting kind of helps us get over this. I think Jennifer Lawrence really does a lot of work to try and make us feel and empathize with her and believe that she just suddenly loves this guy. But I think the movie would be a more enthusiastic endorsement if I either believed it or if she saved him, but I saw on her face some doubt. She was wrestling with it. It's the right thing to do to save this guy, but this guy is awful, right? I'm alone. I think an interesting, another potential thing is the Michael Sheen is the robot bartender. There's sort of limited range to his conversation because, he's a bartending robot, but he's something close to company. And he kind of messes everything up for Chris Pratt by inadvertently spilling the secret, right? But that's sort of what she would become if she was stuck on this ship by herself. Except for at least he knows he's a robot, and someday he will actually serve customers again. So there's every corner of the movie is reflecting on itself and its theme, and is very interesting. And yet I'm frustrated. But I do want to say, it bombed theatrically, and the noise around the movie is negative. I think there's enough interesting here to justify a watch for sure. It's not a bad movie, but it could have been a great movie. So it's sort of haunted by the better movie I want it to be. So whether that's fair or not, I don't know. But that's how I feel, damn it.
I liked, it's obvious in retrospect, but I like the class issues that he encounters when he...
Yeah, he's an engineer and she's a author, and she gets access to way more stuff than he. That seems strange to me. That almost should have been the other way around, but...
No way, man. He's a working grunt.
Yeah.
She comes from money. It's fine.
You eat grain.
Yeah, and his food looks not appetizing.
But again, he could spend a lifetime eating that bad food, and she can eat better food, and she could give him better food. But you know what, buddy? Fuck you.
Exactly.
That is not a nice romantic ending to this movie. They really wanted it to be a romance because they had these two actors in it. To take nothing away from these two actors, if we had a couple of really interesting character actors in here instead, I don't know. I think we might have had something really, really interesting. Get me Rachel Weisz and Michael Shannon in here, and let's watch that movie.
Okay. I like that.
Here's the rub. It's gonna be 4 years for another mission to reach me. And I'm gonna have design to last 31 days. So I gotta make water and grow food on a planet where nothing grows. But if I can't figure out a way to make contact with NASA, none of this matters anyway.
We've got an incoming message.
Mein Gott. Mark Watney's still alive.
In your face, Neil Armstrong.
There must be some kind of way out of here.
Okay, so let's do the math. I have enough food to last for 50 days.
He's going to starve to death long before we can help.
So, I'm gonna have to science the shit out of this.
He's 50 million miles away from home. He's totally alone. What the hell is he thinking right now?
I am the greatest botanist on this planet.
I know how to save Mark Watney.
But we need the Hermes crew.
We either have a high chance of killing one or a low chance of killing 6.
I'm not risking their lives. It's bigger than one person.
No, it's not.
NASA rejected the mission.
So, if we do this,
We're talking mutiny. If anything goes wrong, we die.
do you realize how crazy this is? We had no other option.
Ridley Scott, the man, the myth, the institution. He, like, even his first mainstream film, The Duelist, not a well-remembered, well-watched movie these days. As a debut, stunning, right? And then Alien, and then Blade Runner, right? Like, and even his failures are interesting. Like, Legend didn't make as much money as people wanted it to, but it's a visually amazing movie. I'm going to be actually talking about that with Scott, my friend Scott, that movie.
Oh, wow, cool.
I think that he has one of the more disappointing Best Picture wins, not in that Gladiator was outclassed by the other movies it was up against in the Oscars, but that Ridley Scott has made many better movies than Gladiator. I even think, like, Black Hawk Down is one of the more terrifying war movies I've ever seen, and it's very basic in its approach, but, you know, we're talking sci-fi, we're talking fantasy, we're talking war movies, we're talking historical epics, and Ridley Scott can do it all. Is The Martian his most accessible movie ever? And maybe his best?
Oh, man. His best? I don't know. Like, it's funny that you say that, because Ridley Scott once in a while reminds us that he is a top-tier filmmaker, and The Martian is really good. He's most accessible. I really love the Kingdom of Heaven director's cut.
Oh, yeah, but it's not an accessible movie. A 3-hour historical epic that doesn't, spoon-feed the audience. That's a great movie, don't get me wrong. But, I mean, as far as getting butts in seats and, talking to a wide audience, I think that The Martian has that kind of appeal that anybody could watch this movie. I think a 6-year-old could watch this movie, and I think a 90-year-old could watch this movie.
Yeah. Thelma and Louise, I mean, I guess that's more for adults. Most accessible, probably.
Yeah. Best is much more loaded because he's just made a lot of masterpieces, but it's just a move that I wasn't anticipating from Ridley.
Yeah.
Because this is, he tried to go back to the Alien franchise, and you know what? They were pretty decent swings, but he didn't exceed anything that he'd done before with the Alien franchise, right? And he's doing a lot more of these historic epics that aren't hitting as well. That Exodus movie and even his more recent Napoleon, they're just not landing with the appeal and the critical or audience reception that they used to. And then this Martian movie comes out. I mean, obviously Napoleon has been since then. It's not a period piece, and it's not dark. It's not shadowy. It's not miserable. A lot of his movies are this, and I'm not even saying this as a criticism. They are supposed to be. They're talking about difficult periods in history. They're talking about people struggling for their lives in space, people struggling for their identities. They are tough pictures. The Martian, considering the high stakes, is a joy to watch. Matt Damon's character, who gets stranded on Mars for almost 2 years and somehow doesn't lose his mind and somehow manages to keep his sense of humor, that by itself is quite inspiring. And then seeing the army of people on Earth, once they realize he's there, bending over backwards to do whatever they can helplessly to try and fix the situation for him. And we have the crew who inadvertently abandoned him, dealing with the guilt that they've left this guy behind, and who are given an opportunity to be his saviors. There is no weak thread jumping from the A plot to the B plot to the C plot in the movies. And even great movies, I find, there's usually one plot thread that I'm like, when we're on that plot thread, I kind of wish we were back on the other plot thread. But everything works here, and unlike any other Ridley Scott movie, and this comes right out of the book too, so I mean, that he's going from the source, it seems deliberately wanting to put a smile on your face and keep it there. And to my memory, he doesn't do that a lot with his movies. And I have to say, he's remarkably successful. I've seen the movie 3 times, and every time, towards the end, I feel myself getting a little dusty in my eyes. Like, it works on me. I was never worried for the character of Matt Damon. Like, I kind of just knew in my mind that they weren't gonna leave the movie with his skeleton being bleached out in the Martian, landscape. But I was deeply invested, and I was deeply invested every single time I watched the movie. And it got me to thinking about Ridley Scott, and what is my favorite Ridley Scott movie? Is it Alien? What is his best movie? And I got around to the point, like, well, The Martian is, to me, his most accessible movie. Like, if I was, trying to get someone, recommend a Ridley Scott movie that was going to appeal to the most people, I think that's the one I would name. If not the best of his movies, I think it's in the conversation.
It's in the conversation. I really love me some Kingdom of Heaven. I'm going to have to say Blade Runner, just because, even from an aesthetics point of view, there had really not really had been a film like that. Like, maybe that Fritz Lang film Metropolis.
I
think,
yeah.
But just how that movie opens in like Los Angeles 2000 whatever, and all the fires are going, and it's granted it's an image straight from Philip K. Dick's novella, with the birds falling from the sky and dying, which we don't really see. I mean, there's an homage with the owl. I would have to say Blade Runner. I do love me some Thelma and Louise. I do love me some Matchstick Men. I can appreciate Gladiator for what it is. I mean,
I would say it's probably middle to low tier of his movies, though.
Yeah, Black Hawk Down. I remember you and I saw that in the theaters, and I was exhausted by the end because it's so tense about one of the greatest military mistakes, at least in recent memory, by America. I don't know. Like I was sort of thinking like there should be an episode on the Rank and Review of great Ridley Scott movies that aren't classics. I like me some G.I. Jane. Not exactly a deep movie. I know it's very very raw female warrior, but still very very good. I remember seeing A Good Year, that Russell Crowe romance movie, and it was okay. Body of Lies, I want to give another kind of go through, but there's so many goods.
Well, that's the thing. He's got like 70 some credits on his IMDb page, and as much as we could spend all this time just talking about Ridley, maybe we should pair it back to Martian.
The Martian. I love you, The Martian. It's a really really good movie. There's a line that I just dig. I'm going to science the shit out of it.
Right.
And I thought that's kind of the best way to describe The Martian, because like I'm an arts ed English kind of guy. Science was never quite my bag. I like biology, but the fact that it treats its science so respectfully, from the botany to the biology to the chemistry, when he has to make water so he can let his plants grow, I never felt like I was being talked over, which was really really cool. And it does. For the most part, it treats its science pretty realistically. Like, Scott did admit that they changed the spacesuits to make it a little more aesthetically appealing, and the spaceships themselves weren't that practical, because sci-fi has this habit of having what I would call a spaceship porn, where you've got these really well-built, long shots of spaceships flying through space.
They want the ships to look sexy, but not necessarily practical, right?
Yeah.
No, and these are the sort of decisions and stylistic things. I watched Neil deGrasse Tyson, famous physicist, talk about this movie on YouTube, and he said, as far as he's concerned, the only science that's pushing it too far for him is he doesn't think that there would be a storm severe enough to cause the damage that they portray, the inciting incident. He doesn't think that there would be a storm that strong on Mars. But if that's the one thing that he can find in the whole, like, a freak storm, okay, it was a freak storm, so be it, freak storm happens.
Yeah.
But I also like the few changes they made from the book. Apparently in the book, the main character is a lot more vulgar.
Yeah.
And I get it. He's stranded and alone on Mars, and he's frustrated. It would be frustrated. He would vent it. But they did not want to make this very expensive movie rated R, so they had to be very careful about when they used the language. And as a result, I think it has more impact. So when he says he's got to science the shit out of that, it actually feels kind of out of character for Mark Watney to say that, but there it is. Or it's earned when he pulls that debris out of his stomach and has to do that surgery on himself. When he's finally finished and he can take a breath, and then he can sit there and realize, oh, and by the way, I'm completely alone on Mars. He says, fuck. And it is earned. Like, it is earned.
Yeah, or when he's telling NASA, "You're fucking kidding me,"
Yeah.
and the two guys are talking about, is he saying it like this or does he mean it like that?
Yeah,
and it's just so funny. That's something that I realized this time, that The Martian is quite funny. The scene where I howl besides that is when he's got that radioactive isotope and he's playing that music, the disco song that he hates so much, and Damon just kind of gives a look to the camera. I thought, wow,
well, then he gives up. He starts grooving to the disco because he has no choice. That's the only music that he has to listen to. So he decides he will like it, even though he hates it.
Well, it's even the choice of song, because it's something to do with hot.
Yeah.
And he's got this radioactive isotope, which, I mean, clearly, if I stop and I think about it, if that's the case, the guy's dead in 5 years anyways, because it's just of the radiation. But whatever.
Or just the way he undercuts the terribleness of the situation. He's basically eating exclusively potatoes. And there's this one scene where he says, "It has been 8 days since I ran out of ketchup." And you really have to think about, like, how devastating that loss would have been. Like,
Yep. No. Like, The Martian is so good. And, like, and Matt Damon, he's really good.
Fantastic in the role. Worthy of an Oscar nomination, I would say. And it's not one of these castaway roles where he's completely by himself. Like, there is a lot of other movie around him, but the movie rests firmly on his shoulders. And they obviously had to get a body double for him to lose the weight. Like, that wasn't Matt Damon who shed all of those pounds, but it's still very cleanly done. They had a body double, and then they digitally Damoned his face or whatever.
Yeah.
Well done. And everything works. At Earth, we have Chiwetel Ejiofor and Jeff Daniels and Kristen Wiig bending over backwards, and Donald Glover. All these people bending over backwards to figure out how they're going to get him supplied and get him rescued. And then I think the really interesting conversations that are happening on the spaceship. The spaceship that left him on Mars is en route back to Earth, and they don't know for the longest time that Mark's alive. And they finally tell them, and obviously the crew is devastated. They were devastated to think that he had died, but to think that they had left this guy there, they just, oh my God. And this covert means to give them the opportunity to rescue them, even though it means spending, again, the better part of another year in space, after already being in space for almost 3 years. I just love Jessica Chastain, the captain of the ship, is trying to maintain her strength, and she does. But when she finally gets Mark back, we finally see how much she needed to save him. Like, if she hadn't saved him, she doesn't want to go home. Like, she's like... And everybody on crew is, like, making huge sacrifices for this. And I don't know. It's aw shucks inspiring. You could even get cynical and say, you know, the whole sequence where the Chinese government gets involved, you know, was kind of put in there for some aw shucks, you know, make the movie more appealing internationally reasons. But I love the way the world got galvanized about this Martian, this guy, and that everybody wanted to see him rescued, and everybody watched the rescue attempt live on TV. I believed it. And the aw shucks Disney, like, it becomes almost a sports movie at the end where everybody's, like, waiting to see what's going to happen. And it's kind of cliched, maybe, but god damn it, it really works. Like, it really, really works.
You know who else I thought? I forgot how good of an actor he is, and he's really good in this movie, is Sean Bean.
Yeah.
Sean Bean is usually given villain roles, and he dies. Here's a movie where he doesn't die, and I kind of think he makes the right call. You know, sending all those numbers, like it's what does he send?
He tells the Hermes basically if they speed up, instead of slowing down their approach to Earth, if they start speeding up, they will force NASA's hand and make them have to let them do the rescue. Otherwise, NASA's going to implement the rescue independently, right? They want to get these astronauts home, but these astronauts want to bring their man home. And according to Donald Glover, that is actually mathematically the best option for them. But NASA is resistant to it. But what I love about the Sean Bean character, because I think everything he does is right. We want this for the crew. We want this for the movie. But you're right. Sean Bean is a guy who ends up murdered in most movies. Do you know what his last shot in this movie is? He's shooting. He's doing a drive on a golf course. He's asked to give his resignation from NASA, which presumably he does, as they're showing us all of these people. You know, one of the astronauts goes on for another mission. The two of the astronauts get married and have a baby. And Sean Bean, he's fucking playing golf with a big smile on his face, like it happens in no other movie, right?
I kind of think like he does the right thing, and I can sort of understand why Jeff Daniels says, "I expect your resignation," and he gives the reason why. But I was sort of saying, but he's doing the right thing. He's going behind your back because it's kind of the right thing, and you're asking him to quit his job. Okay.
Well, the Jeff Daniels guy is a really interesting character too, because he's in the uncomfortable position of being in the position like he announced to the world that Mark Motley was dead. And then a few weeks later, they found out, actually, no, he's not. And then he has to, like spin that. Like, one of the first questions he gets, are you going to resign? And he just says, no.
Well, and when he's telling, like, the Sean Bean character, I expect your resignation, he's saying, like, I have to think about other NASA projects that are going to happen, because if we do this, we might lose all this funding. It was some sort of excuse like that. So I kind of also understand that what Jeff Daniels is doing. It's just that the Sean Bean character is right.
Yeah.
He's telling the space crew that, you know, they left somebody behind, he's alive, and how to rescue him this way. You know, you're going to have to do it and speed up, kind of. So that's why I feel so conflicted about that scene, because the Sean Bean character is absolutely correct.
Also, just again, the whole thing stays light the whole time, even though the stakes are incredibly high. But bad shit happens. When he loses his potato farm, and he ends up like he's ended up sitting in the vehicle outside because he's lost the environment on the habitat. He's lost his farm. He can't even call NASA to tell them what happened until he fixes it. So he's sitting in this car and he's like punching the wall, just screaming, God, God, God. And it is devastating. It is devastating. And I don't think it would be as devastating if it was done in that typical everything is hard and scary Ridley Scott way. Because he's treated everything so gently. When shit goes bad, I kind of feel it more. Like, when I'm watching Black Hawk now, I know it's bad. Everything's bad all of the time. It's like, This movie lets you get your guard down, and then it hits you either, like, with drama or with emotion. And, I don't know. Time will tell, but I'm really warming up on The Martian. It's sort of sneakily... I liked it right away. But I don't think I realized how much I liked it until I've seen it 3 times, and I'm like, I could watch it again right now.
Yeah. I also love that scene where he's counting potatoes, and there's that storm outside, and it's getting more and more aggressive, and eventually he can't count anymore because he's so scared, and just does a...
It's like a man-made plastic canvas flap between him and the atmosphere that will kill him. And it's blowing back and forth in this fierce wind. So, like, no, I get it. And we're right there with him. I'm hearing beeps.
It's so tense in that final act when he's in that kind of probe-like spaceship. And the other spaceship is going like around Mars to go pick them up, and there are still so many miles separating them in space. So Damon decides to do the whole Iron Man thing and like sort of shoot himself towards Chastain, but it's spinning and spinning and spinning, and I'm just going, dear God, just rescue this man right about now.
And again, 3 times I watched the movie, and I still feel tense during that scene every time.
Yeah, and it's like I said, The Martian's great. I love The Martian. It's definitely one of the better Ridley Scott movies, hands down. Probably, you're right, the most accessible for all ages. I think Gladiator's probably the more universally loved. Just because of the whole Russell Crowe and Sand and Sandals sort of.
I don't know. I'm gonna throw this on the test of time. 30 years from now, I mean, are we still going to be talking about Gladiator? Are we still going to be talking about Martian? Where is it going to rank? I don't know.
Yeah.
But either way, I mean, I remain a fan of Ridley Scott, and The Martian is, like, full 4 stars.
If you're watching this, I'm probably trying to convince you of something pretty unbelievable, or I'm dead.
Do anything to get her back, but the next dose could kill you.
There are things that are far worse than death. What happened to him?
They're not returning.
It's gotta be me.
You can't deal with reality.
Yeah, because the clock keeps ticking down. The time is an illusion.
So I got Matthew Risling on the podcast. You're my special guest for this edition of the Film Club.
I would consider myself a very special guest.
A very special guest, because you're also doing this again with Warcraft. You're doing double duty as guests on the Film Club, and I appreciate your helping me out. I'm hoping that this was a better experience for you than Warcraft, but
Wait,
I mean,
are you spoiling our Warcraft review?
I'm just being real. I like to keep it real on the podcast. As the kids like to say. Here's the thing. If this was a perfect world, this would not have been your first Benson Moorhead film. These guys, this duo of filmmakers that made Sychronic, the movie we're going to talk about, they've been making low-budget films for a long time. And this one stands out in that you can tell they've got a little bit more production value, and you recognize some of the actors in it. Like, in some of their films, they actually act in it themselves, A, because they're decent actors, but B, just to keep costs down. And what these guys do is sell really high-concept, sort of sci-fi horror ideas in really minimal budgets. Like, they have a story about a guy who falls in love with this eternal creature that she can choose to give up her immortality if she finds the right mate. But if she doesn't find the right mate, maybe she'll eat him, you know? They did a movie about this cult that seems trapped in these time loops, And Resolution, their first film, is another similar idea with the... And they always go for really big concepts under really low budgets. And I find that they're usually successful.
Wait, was Resolution about a dinner party where time opened up?
No, but yeah, I know what you're thinking. The Resolution, these two guys go to a cabin. One of them's trying to quit drugs, and his buddy literally ties him to a pole to help him quit drugs, and then other things start happening.
Okay.
You're talking about the dinner party where people get twinned next door, right?
Yeah, that's the one.
It's a different movie.
Because this one really reminded me of that, because it seemed like a quirky... I mean, this wasn't micro-budget, because it had Anthony Mackie and... Who was the other guy? Jamie Dornan?
Again, recognizable actors, and this is like a first. And they're shooting on location in New Orleans, and with an actual, like, looks like working ambulance, and these cool shots, overhead panning shots and drone shots, that stuff that they haven't been able to use before. But
yeah,
usually...
I was noticing the historical battle at the end that's taking place in the War of 1812. I assume it's that battle that Johnny Horton was talking about, or singing about. There was quite a certain amount of charm to it. Like, you were never, like, immersed in the historical, like, in the historicity of it all, but it was like watching a really well-designed play where you wanted to play along and just suspend your disbelief right alongside it.
Well, that's the thing these guys have always had for me. I'm always cheering for them. I'm always on side. And it seems like the bigger budget and the cast, in a weird way, I like Sychronic, but I think it might be my least favorite of their movies. But I can't decide if it's just a little too high concept even for them. Because I guess what we're dealing with is drugs that can actually, in certain people, trigger time travel. Some people can see visions, and some people can actually seem to physically travel backwards in time through taking this drug. And
so when I was watching it, I had to go online, and it just seemed to be based on a Philip K. Dick novel, like, you know, taking pharmaceuticals that bend reality. And I mean, it's one of those things where it's ridiculous, obviously, but it's also like a neat concept, and there was something about the weirdness of it that I actually liked. I mean, so speaking of Anthony Mackie movies with time travel, like, it was much more satisfying than Avengers Endgame, for instance, that had all of this science and production value. It's like you take a fucking pill and time travel, just there it is, that's the movie.
And I like watching the character discover it and experiment, and sort of the indie approach is still there. I really like it. Again, I can't decide if it's that something's changed with their budget, or if this was just a weirder pill, even by their standards, for me to swallow. I do like it, but I would say it's probably my least favorite of their films. But if you are into this, check out more of their stuff. Particularly The Endless, I think, is kind of delicioso.
Yeah, I liked it quite a bit more than I thought I would. Just, like, from the cover, it just looked like there's something kind of like bland and boring about that cover art, like one of those movie posters you've seen a million times, and I thought it would just be like some generic sci-fi movie, and so I was kind of putting it off. But you know, it was an hour and 40 minutes well spent.
Well, here's another thing I like, other than the guys going into it. I like the setting of New Orleans. I'm a big fan of that city. I've spent some time there myself. Like, I just think it's a cool place to set your movie. And I like the idea of following first responders. Again, I think that they have all sorts of interesting stories, and they seem to be rarely used other than as tertiary characters that get killed off, or that show up to haul off our hero to the hospital. Yeah, these guys are at the ground floor of a lot of sort of weird stuff, and they start noticing these overdoses that have weird sort of additional medical things. One woman who supposedly had an overdose is also suffering from a fairly exotic snake bite. And they're like...
Yeah, and somebody else who overdosed got burned to a crisp, just like mysteriously, where, you know, the building around her wasn't touched.
Yeah. And on top of this, Anthony Mackie's character has been diagnosed with this tumor. I'm sorry, it's been a while since I watched it. Do you remember where it was? It by pituitary gland or something?
The pineal gland. It wasn't just that he got the tumor there, because he was in, like, you know, the EMS guys were at a scene where there were people ODing, and he pricked his finger on a needle that presumably had something of this drug in it. So I think we're meant to believe that this is the thing that, one, gave him cancer, and two, caused his pineal gland to start developing at an alarming rate.
So the drug has a particularly potent effect on him, and when his partner's daughter goes missing under similar circumstances, Anthony Mackie's character basically starts experimenting with this highly dangerous drug and eventually sort of quests to get the teenage girl back. It's sort of easier to explain this way than it is to actually sit and watch the movie. And again, I would encourage people to watch any one of their movies. Just don't go in knowing nothing and take the ride. I do think just by having that much of the plot wrecked for you, a lot of the experience and the reveals of the movie will be taken away from you. And if you take that, it already moves at a pretty slow pace. It could hurt the movie for you.
So I'm not sure that I totally agree, because I went in it without, I didn't know anything about it, except for the name was Synchronicity, and so I figured it had something to do with time or time travel.
It's Sychronic.
Synchronic, sorry.
Yeah.
And pretty quickly, within the first couple of scenes, they take this drug, so some junkies take the drug, and then there's a caveman that's staring this woman in the face. So actually, I think the plot is revealed pretty quickly. It does sort of move at a slow pace, which is another reason it reminded me of a Philip K. Dick novel, because almost the first third of it, nothing much happens plot-wise, but I think it does a good job of kind of creating a mood.
Yeah. And making us like these guys. The Dorner character doesn't exactly know what's going on with Mackie, but he knows that something's up, and he's letting him get away with it up to a point, but they have a very serious job that they have to do. And then compounded with the issues he's having with his daughter, it puts him in a pretty helpless position.
Yeah, well, and because Anthony Mackie knows that he has cancer, so he's taking medication, but he doesn't tell his partner, so his partner thinks that he's popping painkillers and becoming a drug addict himself. Yeah. So, there's some tension between them.
And I like how openly he addresses it, though. Is my partner becoming a junkie cliche? I mean, he just, openly smacks him with that.
Yeah.
I liked it. They had a good rapport, and you cheered for them. And that sort of helped, because as the movie got increasingly out there, and the sort of quest kind of unlikely, even if you could figure out what this stuff was and how to use it, that you'd be able to go to the same place and find this girl and bring her, it keeps on stretching and stretching and stretching to the home plate. I mean, you go with it because you want to, but it's a lot. And of course,
I mean, the chances that he's able to find exactly where the daughter went to, although to the film's credit, they do place her, because it's this rock that she's at, because when you take the drug, whatever place you're at determines when and where, when you go to, not where you go to.
Yeah.
So at least it had set that up, and then there was a message on the rock which leads to pretty predictable payoff, but I mean, at least some effort was made to make it make sense.
Yeah. But I think this, if it wasn't as grounded with the characters, then we would start asking more questions about this, and I think it would be a harder sell. And it's already maybe not exactly an easy sell. I don't know why this is weirder to me than a Lovecraftian cult time loop, but it just, there's something about a drug that gives you the power to travel in time that just seems strange somehow to me.
Well, I don't know. I mean, now that you mentioned Lovecraft, there was that 1980, 84, 85 movie From Beyond, but that was all about them doing some sort of science that made their pineal glands hyperactive, and
they struck a tone. There was this magical tuning fork, and they hit the right tone, and shit would go crazy, and they'd get really horny and stuff. Yeah, there was none of that in this movie, unfortunately.
Yeah, but the point is, these are pineal gland films.
Yeah, there's probably a whole subculture.
There's a couple of other things that, if you could let it bother you, One of the things that I was wondering is, like, why do people take this drug?
Do they get high?
Well, but they all die, don't they?
Most of them, well, yeah, but do they die because of the drug, or do they die because a caveman bashes in their head?
Well, I don't know, but, like, if there's a drug that everybody that takes it dies, I mean, think about, like, the percentage of people that die from opioids. This would be, like, 10,000 times worse than an opioid crisis.
Yeah. I do, again, I like the experimentation, although unfortunately he has to sacrifice his dog to this experiment, but I think we saw that coming the minute he was deciding to take the dog with him, or see if he could take the dog with him. But yeah. I like discovering stuff with the character, as opposed to him, telling Dorner all of this stuff, or, like, we see him try and fail shit, and we have those discoveries and those disappointments with him, which get us invested. So
yeah, and I would say, like, we're giving it a positive review, and I think it deserves a positive review.
Thumbs up.
For me, this is like a B plus kind of movie. Like, it's not the best movie that you're gonna watch this year, but it's just kind of neat, and it's a little bit different. Some of the things that it doesn't really have going for it is, I kind of alluded to this before, but you said it too with the dog. Like, there's no surprises. When they're setting something up, you know what's going to happen. Yeah. And so it's more like, there's more like going along this predetermined line that, it won't surprise you, but it's interesting.
Sometimes that's enough. I mean, I've heard you complain about, you don't like sitting down to a movie and feeling like you already know everything that's going to happen. Say what you will about Sychronic, I don't think that's the experience you get here. So, like, just for carving its own path, it's going to get a positive review and score points on the board. But like I say, I think that they've done better work with less money. So, just interesting.
Yeah, I would definitely, I'm definitely interested in watching some of their other films. I mean, if this is their worst one, it's a pretty good worst film.
Right.
I was blind, but now I see. A tablet a day, and I was limitless. I now had cultural appetites.
Since when do you speak Italian?
I finished my book in 4 days.
I'd like to renegotiate my advance.
Math became useful.
From 12,000 to 2.3 million in 10 days.
I'm baffled by this guy. So, Eddie Mora, you do know you're a freak. What's your secret?
Medication.
Your powers are a gift from God or whoever the hell wrote your life script. I'll open up a line of credit for you. You'll be wanting a few toys.
How many of us ever know what it is to become the perfect version of ourselves?
What's the asking price?
12.5.
I'll take it.
Everything I have, I want to share with you.
What you doing, hon? You think somebody's watching?
My brain is skipping time. I have no memory of the last 4 days.
I'm living in that 21st century, doing something mean to it.
Your powers are not earned. You're careless with those powers. Have you asked yourself what you're going to do when you run out? You'll die.
No one man should have all that power.
Alright, story time, Mr. Dubray. The first time I saw Limitless, I was in a whole different country. I was in Mexico at a destination wedding, ended up exhausted at the end of the day in the hotel room, and it was just something that was on TV. And, I had some alcohol in me, and I was not really focused on it. But I remember thinking, oh, this is pretty energetic, well told, kind of better than I was expecting it to be, in a sort of surprise hotel room watch. So then, I don't remember, years later I ended up seeing it for like $5 somewhere, and I picked it up. And I don't even know if I might have watched like the documentary on the movie, and then not actually got around to rewatching the movie, and then another bunch of years went by. So here we are today to talk about Limitless. So I'm good, I get to watch Limitless again. I remember really liking that movie, and I really hated it. Well, hate's a strong word. I don't like using the word hate. But I like the ambition of a lot of the movies we talk about in this list, and I feel like a lot of movies are trying. They're taking big swings. Whether or not they succeed or not, I appreciate the swing here. Watching it this time, I got big I Want to Be Fight Club vibes. Like, it sort of starts literally on the top of a building. What's going to happen? And we're going to flash back, and he's going to tell us this story with a lot of narration and a lot of energy and a lot of flash cutting. I was talking to you earlier about Star Trek. One of the things that would bother me about watching old Star Trek episodes is when, and they didn't always do this, but it happened often, imaginary problems with imaginary solutions. Well, the blah 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 is broken and we need a blah 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 to fix it. Well, rush the blah 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 down. Do it, man. Right? The solution and the problem are made up.
Yeah.
In this movie, instead of exploring what a super drug could do for the world, good and bad, the positives and the consequences, the drug is both the problem and the solution in this movie. All it is really is Bradley Cooper is awesome, the movie. And I feel like there are threads of narrative that go unanswered, and maybe I missed something and you can help me solve them. I think at the end of the day, we have not just a broken narrator like we did in Fight Club. We have a fundamentally unlikable narrator. I think the reason we like this guy is that he's attractive and he's got a lot of energy and he's played by Bradley Cooper. I feel like this was the movie that solidified Bradley Cooper as Hollywood officially saying, yes, we're a go with Bradley Cooper being a movie star.
Yeah.
And I don't think he's bad in the movie, and I feel the energy and the effort being put behind the movie, but I think the concept is so strong and they missed everything interesting about it to me. So, am I crazy, or did this movie kind of miss a really good opportunity?
This is my first watch, so maybe I'm not sure I'm in the place where my thumb is really down.
Right.
But if I was to rewatch it, it might not hold up. That's the feeling I had with this, because I like it, but I don't love it. This was the time also in this stretch of time, all of these attractive Hollywood types were doing the unreliable narrator bit. We have DiCaprio with Wolf of Wall Street.
Yep.
We have Christian Bale with American Psycho. I felt a lot like Bradley Cooper's an executive producer on this. This was a few months, I believe, before Hangover 2 had come out. Hangover, of course, made his career.
That was what popularized him, but
Yeah.
This is what sort of legitimized him.
As
it
it-
made a lot of
yeah.
money,
Mhm.
like more than anyone projected, right?
And I forget if this was before Silver Linings Playbook.
I think it's before,
a little
but
bit before.
I could be wrong about that.
Yeah, because De Niro's in this as well. I felt like I get the Fight Club idea at the beginning, especially, and they use a lot of, that now dated computer digital
Quick panning.
effects and quick panning. And this is used a lot in the movie. I know it's to simulate kind of the drug experience with this movie, but I was starting to take it as like a ripoff of Scorsese, and the whole thing is just basically about drug addiction.
Without the consequences, really.
Yeah, for him, as we take it, there's no consequences. So what is, I kept, we're jumping to the end. You've said sometimes in your reviews you jump to the end.
Yeah.
There's a scene with Robert De Niro where I thought, okay, the shoe was going to fall, and it looks like for a moment the shoe has fallen for Bradley Cooper's character, and here's like the moral of the story, but then that turns out to be a false lead. So yeah, I think you're right, versus like a great movie like Requiem for a Dream, unpleasant movie that deals with drug addiction, but we see the consequence for all of those characters in that. I mean, it's big and stylized as well, not quite.
Or be a satire. Judge this character.
Yeah.
Because I don't feel like the movie does. Like, initially, the first few months when you access this power, you make yourself wealthy, you seduce all of these women, you kind of get your yayas out. But at the end of the day, what do you do with your power? And that's it. Like, he just wants to have a good time. Then he eventually wants to focus it politically to do some good in the world. But a lot of suspicion hangs over me over this. Like, it is basically saying that if you're smart and rich, all of your problems are solved. And I would argue that is just not true. We see a lot of very wealthy, unhappy people. Like, money does not solve these problems. he's still the loser that he was at the beginning of the movie. And the movie never acknowledges it. It never explores it. It never judges the character. He embraces the American dream, and good for him seems to be the thesis of this movie. And there's no dark undercurrent. And even if he becomes dependent on it, then he just figures out, well, I can figure out a way to mass produce this drug for myself anyway. And then there's all these other questions. If it is such an amazing drug without consequences, why isn't every other character in the movie on it?
Well, there are some.
Yes. Well, I mean, it
gets discovered.
It becomes
like the Russian mafia guy.
And the vampiric drug blood drinking at the end, that was just ridiculous. But like,
oh, that scene is so bad. I was like, I was like, no, he's not going to. He is
drinking the
blood. Going so he can get the drugs through this guy's bloodstream to save him in this dangerous situation. But oh boy, yeah.
Would you not expect there to be some weird strings attached? Like, I don't know. The whole blackmail background where he's supposedly involved in killing this girl. What happened to that thread of story? I mean,
he just got off because
presumably he could buy his way out of anything else, and most of the gangsters that hated him, like, why did he take the loan from the gangsters? If you're a super genius and you can play the stock market, and you know within a few days, exponentially, you're going to be a millionaire, why?
But wasn't that earlier? Like, that was before he got into the stock market stuff, that he got into debt to that guy?
Oh, he was in debt with him beforehand.
Yeah, he was. Yeah.
Anyway,
that was a bit earlier in the time, so I will defend it on that point. But then, like,
I just feel like they start strands that they abandon, and they bring up ideas that would be interesting sci-fi ideas, and they abandon them.
Yeah.
I really do. I guess I didn't realize he was a producer. I think it's a vanity project for Bradley Cooper.
It feels that way, and he unfortunately
he missed the point of the sci-fi because there's good stuff here.
Like, I like Bradley Cooper, and he's like, there's all those clips of a young guy who was with the actor inside the actor studio asking questions of De Niro and all these famous people, and then he became like their success story coming out of that program. And I think he's a good actor, but sometimes I do sense that some of the projects are vanity projects. Maestro, I was very hard on. Like, it's still good. Like, he has good taste in that, but I occasionally feel him acting, and this movie from the beginning, I saw him acting and trying really hard. Like, this is my chance. I have my name on this. This is greenlit. I have De Niro in here. Kind of a thankless role for De Niro. A weird role for him too.
It sort of felt like the beginning of the shrugging my way through the performance De Niro.
A little bit, yeah. I mean, he's not bad. What's her name? Abby Cornish, who plays his long-suffering girlfriend.
Don't know why she liked him before. Don't know why she liked him after. I have no idea.
No, but she gets caught up in this and goes along with it, and then is
forced to take the drug herself at one point.
Yeah. I think gives the best performance in the movie.
Considering she has a mess of a character, she does well with
she does well. I mean, the writing doesn't help her. And I think it's over-directed. This Neil Berger. It's just I'm going to use all the bells and whistles to make this look like it's a really cinematic movie. And maybe seeing it in the theater would have been a great experience. I didn't see it. I kind of forgot about it until a few years later. There's a TV show, I think, based on this, right?
I read that when I was looking into it. Again, half drunk, kind of not paying full attention. It holds your attention. It's not a badly made movie, but you don't need this desperate histrionic editing and like...
No.
Especially when the story itself is so interesting. People are trying to sell variations of this, Limitless pill all of the time. This is going to make your life a better place. Well, let's say that it actually existed. What would that mean? Like, there is actually a really interesting story here that is not being addressed.
But there's a thread that, and I know it's based on a book, and I haven't read the book, so maybe that would help me out a little bit. There's a thread in here that if you keep doing this, you're going to die.
Right.
Or you'll get very sick, or you'll be damaged. But I think it's a little bit more like you have to keep taking it, maybe but I don't know if it's like you'll be fine if you keep taking it. But I sense that there's an OD type of a process that he gets close to in the second act.
The movie lets itself off the hook with this. But again, to go to one of the most underrated comedies of all time, period, end of sentence, Brain Candy by the Kids in the Hall.
Yeah.
In that movie, the superdrug cures depression. The catch is 15% of the population end up catatonic, locked in their greatest memory forever. That movie does a better idea of like explaining like pharmaceutical corruption or what we would be willing to give up with the real or imagined idea that we could improve our lives with a pill. How much would we pay for the pill? How much negative repercussions would we accept and still take the pill? Again, there's an analogy to drug addiction. There's an analogy to self-improvement. There's so much that this movie could be about other than how awesome Bradley Cooper is.
Yeah. But it just... Yeah, it just doesn't really work, and it almost has to go into the space fantasy or the science fiction fantasy column more than important. I think they're trying to be important.
They think they're important.
But they aren't connecting the dots. They aren't, crossing the T's.
There's
to get to like that Minority Report level of excellence,
A movie that's smart that has no conclusion can be frustrating. A movie that's smart but too dry can be frustrating. A movie that thinks it's smart but isn't is infuriating.
Yeah. I just don't understand why we're left with this as kind of the Manchurian Candidate.
Yeah.
When we started off with like a struggling writer like adaptation. Like how did we go from...
But again, as they show him...
And we have the Wolf of Wall Street in the middle or something. So.
As they show him beginning his political career, is he going to ascend to save the world, or is he going to, like Damien from The Omen, try to destroy it? Either end could be true. We don't know. Like, it's not a story. It's just a concept.
I feel like it... I think they're hinting that it's not good.
No, yeah, I get
and we're
that.
we're supposed to be unsettled by this, but... I just don't think it's followed up. I mean...
If you hear the premise for the movie, you've seen the movie.
It's watchable. I think people can see it and it'll be fine, but there's a reason that was not like the science fiction movie of that decade. This is not I want to put in a science fiction movie from the 21st century. I'm not thinking of Limitless right away. Like I know.
It was
points I've forgotten it's a movie.
It was surprisingly popular when it came out. It overperformed, but...
Yeah.
I don't think anyone except for you and I, are talking about Limitless today.
No, not even Bradley Cooper is talking about it right now.
No, I am being hard on it, though. I think it was another one of those things where I had vaguely good memories of it. So I thought, I remember that. It's a fun movie. Fun movie. Looking forward to it.
It's my least favorite of the movie club movies
we've done
so far. Yeah.
And it is an example of a wannabe sci-fi film. Like, again, if you're going to play with a concept this interesting, you gotta follow through a little bit. And sci-fi concepts that are fascinating are easy to come by. A story with a beginning, middle, and end to wrap around it, well, that's where it gets a little tough. Yeah. So they figured, let's drown it in style. And it's stylish, but not quite stylish enough for me. You're thinking just stylish enough to creep over.
Well, I mean, it's kind of like you like to use the fast food analogy.
Yeah.
Okay, tastes good at the time, but afterwards you're kind of like, I don't know.
Completely forgot about it. What did you eat for lunch today? Jeez, what did I eat for lunch today? I don't remember.
Yeah.
And we come to the end of another thrilling episode of Rank and Review, but let's not get too eager because it's called Rank and Review, and as the host, I get to rank these movies. It's interesting because the further away I get from Limitless, the more I find to dislike. I know that the movie had like a certain level of competence and style and skill to it, but I feel like the messaging behind it is really kind of gross, and I don't know, it rubbed me the wrong way. Maybe it was that, or I just didn't want to put a Brian De Palma film at the bottom. In 5th place, I put Mission to Mars. And I hate to admonish or punish a movie for being too ambitious, but that was kind of the problem here. There was 5 movies versus the material wedged into one movie, and somehow it wasn't holding together for me. In 4th place, we will have Selfless. There's nothing terrible about this movie, but I guess there's nothing really exceptional about this movie. It is totally like airplane food, sort of disposable type of, like, you could honestly have forgotten you ever watched it. It's not bad, it just, I don't think it really does much to distinguish itself, so I'm putting it in 4th place. Top 3 time gets kind of interesting. In the 3rd place, I think I'm going to put Sychronic. Again, I would like to put these guys a little bit higher on the list. It's a tough premise that they're trying to sell here, and it kind of has its own pace. But I do like the grounded reality of the work, and I really do like these filmmakers. Like, I'm on board for anything that they do. I'm going to surprise myself and the world because there was a lot of backlash against this Passengers movie, but I also think there was a lot of cool stuff in it, and as much as it didn't become a horror movie or it didn't maybe address some of the tougher, sharper edges that it could have, I think the movie is interesting enough for the conversation it brings that, like, I'd like it. Like, I'm intrigued by it. I like this world, and I think maybe it will usher in another more serious take on something like this. What would survival in space really, truly mean? So, yeah, overperforming in 2nd place is The Passengers, but I think number 1 was kind of a gimme. Ridley Scott, The Martian, just gets better every time I watch it, and there's something wholesome, there's something warm about The Martian. There's so many sci-fi movies are doom and gloom, and the end is nigh, and there's something about the warmth in The Martian that I just didn't see coming from Ridley Scott. It's a real crowd pleaser, and I think he should have, I would have rather he won an Oscar for The Martian than Gladiator, personally. I'm glad Ridley's got his Oscar, but I think he maybe won it for the wrong movie. So that is the Film Club edition of Rank and Review. I would like to thank every member of my film club. That's Rick Fehr, Scott Lehman, Jason Dubray, Lee Beckmann, Mireille Smith, and of course our special guest this week, Matthew Risling. Thank you very much to everybody for contributing. Thank you for listening to this. If this is reaching your ears, I consider you a friend. Please send me your feedback to ranknreview@gmail.com. That's ranknreview@gmail.com. Please check out the website at ranknreview.ca. Please check out the YouTube presence. And, leave your ranks, leave a message, spread the word on Rank and Review. Thank you so much for listening. I'm going to get out of your ear. You have a great rest of your day.